Well, good evening, everyone. I'm John Akers, Senior Engineer for Dewberry Engineers in Raleigh and the Project Manager for the West Club Project. Thank you for the opportunity to provide your community with an update on the West Club Boulevard Corridor Utility Rehabilitation Project. The project is the presentation is not too long, and if everyone can hold their questions to the end. With us tonight, we have Wade Tong, who's the construction team manager for the city of Durham, and also Greg Smith, who's with the stormwater division from the city. Also, myself, as I said, I'm with Dewberry. We also have Brad Keeley, who is the senior project manager for Moffett Pipe, who's the contractor on the project.
I know you said no question. Are these slides going to be available after the meeting?
Yeah, I believe so. Yes.
Thank you.
We also have Zeke Earlis, who's the project manager also with Moffett Pipe, and Nick Rodebush, who is our construction observer with Holland's Construction Services, and he'll be working for Dewberry on this project doing construction observation. So why is the project needed? Well, water and sewer and stormwater infrastructure below and above ground in the neighborhood is well past its life expectancy. Most of it was put in place between the 1920s and the 1940s and is in bad need of rehabilitation and upgrades. With upgraded infrastructure, the city will be able to provide reliable water and sewer service to the area. We'll be able to greatly reduce the number of service outages in the area and provide better reliability for the homeowners. New rehabilitation sewer lines will also reduce the need for repairs and potential sewer backups. Additionally, since the streets and sidewalks must be repaired after the utility work is complete, we're going to take this opportunity to replace and install some curb ramps for accessibility in the neighborhood. So the project scope, it's kind of defined here, will include the replacement of water mains, sanitary sewer lines, some stormwater lines, so curb ramps and pavement repairs. So the project scope.
Slide you just showed, is that are you showing what's in the street, or is
Yeah,
that actually how it's going to be laid out?
That's somewhat, I would say this is more of a generic look at it. That is down West Club. That's kind of a generic look of what we have right now. Existing water, gas, and existing sewer lines over the street. But I would say that's a bit generic. It varies street by street. So the streets that are going to be directly impacted include West Club Boulevard, 9th Street, Oakland Avenue, Oval Drive, Carolina Avenue, and Inglewood Avenue. Some streets that will be indirectly impacted will include Georgia Avenue, Alabama Avenue, Virginia Avenue, Maryland Avenue, Woodrow Street, West Knox Street, Green Street, and Safeway Street. So the directly impacted streets will have their utilities replaced, and the ones that are indirectly impacted are cross streets, and we'll be doing some impacts on those streets to make tie-ins to the existing from the new water lines, sewer lines to the old water lines, sewer lines on those streets, and it'll also make preparations if those streets have their lines replaced in the future. So here's a map of the areas that are going to be directly impacted. Hillendale and North Carolina 157 are to the south. West Club Boulevard is up to the north, running at the top of the street. And we have copies of the map up here for you to look at later. So the project scope, we're replacing about right here. As you can tell, we're replacing, the majority of it is water line replacement, 12 and 8-inch water line replacement with some sewer line replacement and the repairs of some sewer We also are going to replace about 800 feet of stormwater, or excuse me, storm sewer, and we'll install and replace about 40 accessible curb ramps.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Isn't that the whole sidewalk project that's been going on now where the curb ramps have been replaced?
Yes, I believe some of the curb ramps have been replaced in the area. We're not going to disturb those. Well, if we do have to disturb those, we're going to replace them and repair them. But the other ones, there's going to be some areas where we're going to put new ones in.
But these aren't necessarily sidewalk ramps, these would be like the driveways.
John, if you could repeat the question.
I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, the question was I guess if you can ask the question again, I'm sorry.
The sidewalk, we just had an extensive sidewalk restoration and replacement, and there are all new curb ramps at most all the intersections. And when you say curb ramps, that's what I was envisioning. Are these going to be torn up that have just been put in?
The question was, let me repeat it real quick. There's been an ongoing project to replace sidewalks and curb ramps, I think throughout the city and in this neighborhood in particular. Is this project going to, I guess, tear up the existing and replace it? And the answer is no, not unless we have to. And the replacements I'm speaking of will be in some areas where those haven't been done yet. So we did a survey a couple of years ago and identified areas where the curb ramps need to be replaced.
Yeah, but help out if you would, John. What's a curb ramp?
A curb ramp is really at the intersections. If we could. Okay, yeah. What's the question was, what is a curb ramp? And a curb ramp is the handicapped accessible ramp, which is
So
at
it's
the
the sidewalk.
intersections. So it involves the sidewalks, yes. So briefly, project timeline for the project. The contractor wants to start next month, early next month in March. He has an 18-month construction performance period. So that puts us wrapping the project up sometime in September 2026. Can we hold a few questions to the end? And I'm almost, if you don't mind. I may have one in here. I'll look. There was someone on the earlier slide. Okay. Sorry. The question was, what is a curb ramp? And I believe we had one on the earlier slide.
It's like a driveway there.
It's right there. This picture in the upper right-hand corner is the curb ramp. So we want to speak about safety first. Safety is paramount for our workers and the public. We'd like to make sure that everyone stays safe during the project. So please stay behind and clear the work. The contractor will be putting up barricades, either concrete barricades or the orange construction fence. And so please stay behind that. There's a traffic control plan for the neighborhood that's been done and approved by NCDOT that will help smooth traffic flow through the construction areas. And also any closures are going to be restricted to the active construction areas only. So the typical construction process, what are you going to see while it's going on? Well, primarily you're going to see trucks and equipment moving materials through the site or from the storage areas, which will be off-site to the site. So they may be some construction materials that they're being unloaded. There may be some traffic tie-ups while that's happening. Should be minimal and quick. Contractor is going to have to make some multiple passes for each utility. He's going to have to make a pass through to do the water lines, and then behind that the sewer lines, and then we'll potentially behind that some storm drainage work, but there's not very much of that. Water and sewer service reconnections will then take place. They'll install new water and sewer block by block. We'll switch out the services from the old to the new. And then you'll have, if you don't have one already, you'll have a new clean out for your sewer line at the right of way. And then the water meters will stay where they're at, and the contractor will replace the water service to the existing meter. So the work is all going to stay in the street right away, and in a couple of areas, some easements that we've obtained. And then once he's finished, they may temporarily do some asphalt patching until they come back and do a full street rehabilitation or full street overlay on the sections that they've worked on. So some of the impacts that you might see, there'll be traffic impacts, which will include local road closures, detours, and on-street parking in or reduced on-street parking in the active work areas. When the contractor is working in front of your home, they will coordinate dates and times with you to make sure that you still maintain access to your house, your driveway. There'll be some pedestrian access, which will include some closures of some sidewalks and some detours for sidewalks in some areas. There may be some noise impacts. The contractor's work hours are from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And so that's what we'll try to maintain those very much throughout the project, Monday through Friday. You'll receive a 7-day notice for your water. If your water service needs to be interrupted for a tie-in, it should be a fairly quick process, but we'll hopefully we'll make those go pretty quick. It'll be a 7-day notice before we do that. So a little bit about the lead and copper rule changes, and I believe I'm going to go ahead and do those.
Go ahead.
Okay, great. So the recent federal legislation has required the owners of public water systems to inventory their remaining water service lines that may contain lead. So as part of the project, the contractor will be exposing the existing service lines to determine if lead is present. And then the slide details with the process that we'll go through if lead is detected on your service line. A right of entry will be requested at some point for an inspection, which may take place in your basement or crawl space, or on your property within a few feet of your water meter. So when you'll be notified of the results, and if you inspect your own line, you can report your findings to the city, and you could be eligible for a $30 credit on your water bill.
I would add, we haven't found any lead surface lines in dirt.
Okay, yeah, just to repeat what Joe said, that we have not found any lead service lines in the city so far. So how to stay informed on the project? There's several ways you can stay informed. Probably the best way is, the contractor's going to be providing us with a 2-week look ahead roughly each week, which will provide us updates on which streets he'll be working on and where he'll be working. So the best way to stay informed is to subscribe to the weekly email updates or the project's website. And the QR code up there should take you to the project website. So that's all I have for the formal presentation. I think we can get into some questions and concerns now. And see the lady back here in red.
Hi, I know the city has no control over the electric or phone utilities, but wouldn't this have been a great opportunity to get underground power, electric?
Yes, so,
phone
okay, the question is realizing that the city doesn't have control over the power and the other above ground utilities on poles. Would this be a great time to coordinate moving those to underground? Is that your question? Okay. It would be, I think, but it's a very expensive process, and generally it's only done in special situations to get the power company to do power or the phone company to do that. It's like it is a very expensive proposition for them to do, so they're not going to do it without money from somewhere. And so generally we've not had a lot of luck trying to coordinate that effort, an effort like that with them. Down front here first.
Sure, a couple of questions about the sewer connections. Where, how close to the right of way does an existing cleanout need to be to count? In other words, will you put one in even if I've already got one, but it's too far?
Yes, we will put we're gonna put new sewer. The question was, will we put new sewer? I guess we'll put new sewer taps or sewer cleanouts in, even if your current sewer cleanout is it on your property?
It's not my property, but it's exposed.
It's exposed. Okay, yeah, we're gonna be putting new cleanouts in for all the properties to switch over to those, and those will be put on at the right of way line. And it'll have a cap, it'll be capped, and should be flush with the ground. Okay.
What material?
It's PVC pipe, but I'd have to check to make sure they put the cap may be an iron.
Metal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was trying to remember. Yeah.
Say that again.
So it'll be
The cap is metal and it's got a concrete collar.
Okay.
so for those on the,
Or a concrete pad that caps it from the.
yeah, for those on the meeting, if you didn't hear, the cleanouts, the new cleanouts have a concrete collar around them and a metal cap.
And so you.
Okay, I'm sorry. We had one question back here in the blue.
Can you give us a rough sense of your closing a street down, like what should we be expecting to, like, how long that road would be, that block would be closed for typical water line placement?
Okay, so the question is, how big of an area will we be closing down the street, and how long will that typically take? I may have the contractor help me a little bit with that if he can. We do have, like I said, we do have a closure plan that's in place, and it's generally block by block section. In some areas, we're going to be closing half the street and leaving another lane open. In some areas, sometimes there'll be a full street section closure, and detour signs will be set up for that.
I do know typically the water line will go faster because it's shallower. The sewer line will be a little slower because it's deeper. We will maintain a single lane of travel for you to access your driveway. And we will have our on-site guys maintaining that traffic flow for the immediate residents in the block that is closed.
But is there like a rule of thumb that you've done this in the past, and then what is it? A week, 6 weeks?
I mean, if that,
Historically, what is it?
honestly, I mean, I've put in probably 100,000 feet of pipe and there's no rhyme or reason to how fast or slow it goes. Obviously, our goal is to do it as fast as possible, but I mean, it could take a week for the water line and it could take me 6 weeks for the sewer line. Or it could take me a week and a week. I mean, it's really just about what we uncover as soon as we put a bucket in the ground.
I think the best way to keep track of that will be like following the information in the newsletter or on the project website. We'll keep, like I said, we'll keep updating that, and you'll see when things are scheduled.
Can you go back to the slide that showed the section of the street with the kind of an approximation of where the various lines would be?
Okay, thank you.
I want to make sure I understood something you said.
It's just-
It's okay. No, you had it. So if I understand, there was a slide that said you're going to do this in multiple passes.
Yes.
So, I mean, you're not gonna take a block of the street, tear the whole thing up and then put all the lines in and then. So what is when you're all done and you put the street surface back? Is it going to be the same old street with a bunch of trenches cut in it and filled in? Or are you gonna take everything off and just start with the top of the whole thing?
The areas that we'll be tearing up will be, I'm sorry, if we could replace, repeat the question a little bit here, if I can kind of try to reword that. They were asking about whether or not will there be multiple passes to replace the streets, and when we're finished, will there be like multiple cuts through the asphalt where we've replaced the water lines and the sewer lines. I think for the most part, the patching, when we're finished, is gonna be half a lane type of patching, where we've torn up the street. I know there are several areas where we will patch the full street because we're gonna do water and sewer. One on one side, one on the other side of the street. But
So
for the
you're gonna
most
take it
part,
all the way down for one lane.
yes, so essentially.
It won't be the old street with a bunch of grooves in it filled with asphalt.
No, we're gonna completely rehab that, or excuse me, overlay that section of the street once all the new services have been put in. Yes, sir.
So. Similar question, so when you do overlay. Does that mean you're going to add more thickness to the asphalt that is already there, or will the level of the road ultimately be lowered somewhat?
So the question is, when we do the overlay, will we be adding asphalt to the existing asphalt that's there, or will we be lowering it? And the answer is we're going to be going back at the same elevation that was previously there. So we won't be adding any high spots, low spots. We'll be going back with the same elevation.
So, here's the thing. I heard a rumor that with all the new sidewalk curb cuts, many of them, I would say most, are in fact lower than the street surface, and so they just collect rainwater. And look at Maryland right outside of here, giant puddles, they're unusable when it rains. Heard a rumor that when this happens, the street surface is going to get lowered to match so that that won't happen. So what you're saying is that is incorrect, that we're just gonna have to deal with these giant puddles and all that at every intersection for the rest of our lives, or at least the next 30 years.
Yeah, the question is about the low spots that have been created where we've put in, where curb ramps have been put in the past, and there's water collecting in front of those. I think that from our perspective, there's on some of the curb ramp areas that we're reworking, we are milling down the asphalt to get the asphalt slopes to the correct slope that they're needed or required by ADA to make them ADA compliant if they're too steep. So we will be lowering them in some areas, but overall, there's no storm drainage work planned under this project, except it's very, very minor, except where we have to do some work. I'd have to ask the city to if they could speak to any other future stormwater work that might be done.
I can chime in on that. There is a transportation and public works project that is supposed to resurface this road, add traffic calming devices and bike lanes.
When?
Shortly after this or years away?
They asked when that was going to happen. The answer is you need to talk to Public Works and Transportation.
So,
We need to encourage them, right?
They are also the ones who came in, Public Works is also the ones who came and did the curb ramps ahead of this project and all the sidewalk work, which we're going to be affecting some of it. Because they weren't supposed to do it until after we did it.
that would have made more sense.
Yes. Okay.
Good money after bad, tuition.
No, this- every time-
We're glad the problem is-
Twice.
Thank you for
So-
acknowledging the problem. You talked about storm sewers, are there new storm drains, any new storm lines?
There's a couple of areas,
Repeat the question.
okay, so is there any new storm drainage planned? There's mostly a couple of areas where we're gonna be repairing some storm drainage,
I think you said 800 feet.
about 800 feet.
Where does that go? Can you give us a map?
Some of it is, I don't have anything on me. Some of it is in the area, I think I want to say near Oval Drive, there's a small park area. And some of it is to reduce some storm drainage work in that area, where there's some issues.
I have a question from the chat. Is the work, and this is from Elizabeth Johnson, is the work starting at the Hillendale end?
So the question is the work starting from the
Yes.
Hillendale end? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. I believe it's- I think we're talking about starting at this area, right? Is the mouse showing? No. So Hilldale is on the farthest left of the map. And where West Club is, and I believe that's where the contractor plans to start that intersection and work his way down West Club.
Correct.
There is some work, also, that's gonna add some water lines on Hilldale, but it's all gonna be primarily in the shoulder, and we're gonna do a drill underneath, the ramp there, reconnect and make a loop to improve the water, improve water service in the area and water quality. But that's probably gonna be done a little later in the project, and that won't affect anybody very much. It's like I said, it's mostly over in the shoulder. Yes, sir.
Will there be any new storm drains?
The question is, will there be any new storm drains? And the answer is no. Not on this project.
Stormwater thing.
So
I have another.
a question from I'm sorry, question from the back. I saw you earlier. Yes, ma'am.
Wasn't paying enough attention. So if I live on a block, you have to close off that block, replace the water main. It looks like one side is water main, the other side is.
Same. Yeah.
So in that same, say, 3-week period, are you then gonna close, you're gonna fix up my side of the water? Then you go to the other side of that same block to do the sanitary sewer, or are you gonna go all the way down the road to do water main and come back and get the sanitary?
I believe
Would be multiple passes with that.
Yeah, to repeat that question real quick, are we gonna do, I guess, like, are we gonna go down the street doing just water and with one pass all the way down, say, for instance, West Club, and then come back and do sewer? We're gonna go back and forth, and I'm gonna leave that to the contractor because that's up to him to make a decision, but I think he's gonna do the thing that's gonna probably work the fastest and be the most convenient for everybody, so.
Yeah, so typically we'll go down through. Typically, we'll go down through, we'll install all of the water lines, then we'll drop back and we will install the sewer mains. So yes, you'll see a 1 or 2 block closure where we're doing the water main. And then we'll move that closure down and continue down, just kind of leapfrogging, and then we'll drop back and do the sewer. This project specifically is a little different. You may see multiple of our crews working on an area, so we might be working on 9th and on West Club, but that'll still stay within that 2 block closure that we're allowed. But yes, we will start with the water, and then we will drop back and install the sewer and then the storm.
And just kind of to add on to that, there is a very detailed and DOT approved plan for how the contractor needs to put up signage for any road closures and everything, so, or detours and that. So there will be adequate construction signs.
Lay out website. And actually on the website.
Yeah, the plan would not be on the website itself, but I guess the plan, you were asking about the plan for the road closures. Yeah, what we'll do on the website is try to keep people as informed as we can as we make progress on, like I said, we're gonna do those 2-week look aheads. And so you'll be able to tell, as we're moving along where we're at.
And so my concern is as neighbors who don't necessarily live on Club Boulevard. I still have to get out.
Right.
And I could go back down to the Indian Trail, but I think it would also be convenient if we do which block was closed and where we need to dig around to get out to go work.
And so the question was figuring out advanced warning of road closures, and I think that'll be part of the website, but that'll also be part of our advanced warning signs. You'll see them, they're ginormous, and they completely close down the road. And the other portion of that as well is, if there's any questions, my superintendent will be on site. So you're more than welcome to walk up to him, preferably stay behind the barriers for safety, but he'll be there and he'll be able to answer a lot of these questions as the days progress.
And how will we recognize people?
He will have a white hard hat. All of our laborers have blue hard hats.
Don't miss, I also have a white hard hat. So if I'm,
Yeah, but they can ask you.
if I'm on site, I'll probably have to catch up with the superintendent, but I've got a big vest that has Dewberry on the back, so,
I've got another question from the chat. How long will we lose service when working on the water and sewer lines at our house? Minutes, hours, days?
so the question is, how long will you lose service? If, when you're working in front of their house for the water, will it be a few minutes, will it be hours, will it be days? I believe I can say hours at the most.
Yes.
Yeah, hours at the most, I would think, would definitely be done by the end of the day. We wouldn't leave you with, and look, and in a rare instance that there's something crazy happens, I won't say that we would never leave you with water overnight, but our goal will be to make sure we have water restored same day.
I'll add to that, that you probably, for sewer service, you probably won't even know. You'll continue to operate your day-to-day, the water, we come up and we'll knock on the door to make sure that nobody's actively using water before we shut it down. And then, it might take us an hour or two to get it switched back over to the new water main, but we'll let you know as soon as that's back on for your use.
I think you asked them to flush their lines.
Yeah,
Yeah, after we do that, we'll probably ask you to run some water through one or two of your taps of your house for
just a few minutes.
just a few minutes to
out.
kind of get air out of the lines and get anything that might have been inadvertently gotten in the line, although we keep it pretty clean when we're doing the work. But that would be that would help, like, primarily get the air out of your line. So, more questions. Let me, I'll start in the back one, in the back here.
Yes, apparently everything's gonna be copacetic. If we are unhappy with how things are working out, is there somebody we can complain to? That's just the first of several questions.
Okay, so the question is. So the question is, like I said, we're trying to do our best to make this as painless as possible for everyone. Question is, if there is a complaint or an issue, who we want to bring that to whose attention should we bring that to? I believe if you see the superintendent on site, you can bring that to his attention. If you're not satisfied with the answer, or if you can't find the superintendent, I believe the next step is going to be contacting the inspector, the city's inspector on the site. So, we have, Dewberry has a construction observer on the site. He works for Holland's Construction Services. It's Nick over here. He'll be able to, also be able to take questions and answer a lot of your questions if you see him. He'll be on the site, I guess about 40 hours a week or so.
And he has a cowboy hard hat.
For an American flag.
So,
But that is correct.
yeah. So, then we had some more questions.
I had a question about lead, if it's a good time.
Can we take it afterwards?
All right.
It's could be a long involved answer. So the question about lead, we're gonna hold later in the back window.
So, assuming you're starting at Hillendale and we're looking at an 18-month, are you working straight up club and then turning on to 9th and working, and so you'll end roughly at the end of the 9th Street? Because I'm looking, there's a project that I'm working on with EK Post School that is going to involve some street art. And I'm just trying to schedule that around hopefully not getting torn up.
Okay. I think we can work with you on that. How far in the future is that?
And
Question.
more than a year,
Okay.
most likely. It'll probably be sometime next school year, probably late next school year.
Okay. I think when we get close, the question is about working with one of the schools on some street art that we would like to probably not tear up. So we'll work with you when it goes a little closer, and we'll see what we can do.
John, I'll step in there real quick. We are gonna try and do that section by the school in the summer.
Oh.
So it doesn't affect student traffic and parent traffic,
That's ideal, thank you.
so.
Yes, sir.
Way back, is it me?
Yes, you're way back in the back.
Okay, this looks wonderful. I wonder if you can give us some sense of what we're gonna pay for this. Maybe for people who live within the project areas, you might get one answer, maybe people living elsewhere in the city would get a different answer. Can you give us some sense of how much this is gonna cost us?
So the question is, how much is, I guess, the project going to cost? And I don't know if the construction amount's been released.
Something that we could make sense of.
It's come out of the capital improvement, the city's capital improvements, water and sewer capital improvements fund. So it's kind of been budgeted for a long time. And so I don't think, I can't really speak to, there's no bonds or fees or anything like that that'll affect anyone. Like I said, the city puts a certain amount of your water and sewer bills aside to do these types of projects when they're needed. And that's where the money is coming from the capital improvements program budget. Down, I think that's the lady in the right here.
I live on Club and it seems like it'd be hard to get into my driveway. There's a hole in the street in front of my house. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about
Yeah, well. So the question is, someone who lives on Club Boulevard is wondering about if the work is directly in front of their house, how are they going to access your driveway? And so I'm going to let our contractor, he's going to coordinate that.
Yeah, so typically we'll come up and make sure, coordinate day of that we'll be crossing your driveway. If there is an immediate need to get in or out while we are in that 10-foot section, then we have 1-inch thick steel road plates that we will put over the trench that are completely safe for you to drive over. Our dump trucks drive over them every day, all day. So, and that, yep. Yeah, we'll keep those road plates right there with our pipe installation trench. And so if something, you forgot that you had a doctor's appointment or whatever, we can slide it over, we'll get you out safely. And then when you come back, just bear with us, honk the horn, hey, I'm back. And we'll slide it back over so you can get back in the driveway. Yes, we will. Yep.
Thank you. So we had one question down front here, sir.
Sure.
Go ahead.
The question is, how far from the right of way will you repair broken sewer lines? Because a lot of these sewer lines are.
Yeah, we'll repair, and we're going to put in, the city sewer main in the street, obviously. The question is, how far will we repair broken sewer mains or sewer lines? We're obviously repairing the sewer in the street. We're going to provide you a new connection to that sewer, which will go up to a clean out at your property, and it will reconnect to your existing sewer line. But the city doesn't have any responsibility on further than the right of way to your house.
So at that junction.
Yes.
Where you're attaching the clean out to the original sewer line, and the original sewer line is compromised or becomes compromised in the process of you attaching the new clean out, what happens then?
Good question.
We will
I think we will
continue on to.
I think we will. Yeah, I think we will.
10 years old, and I do not know.
Correct. Yeah, wait,
I think
that's
we will.
that's an everyday thing. Hey, we have to connect back to good pipe to make sure that the connection is sealed. So if it's right at the right of way, that's typically where we want to be.
Sure.
If we have to chase it, we will to get back to good pipe. But the clean out itself will still be at the right of way. We'll just
Yes.
What was one question? Yes, sir.
Street function will be 1 block, 2 blocks?
We are allowed 2 blocks at a time.
That's what I heard initially talking to other people. You might have staging area and work area.
Yeah. Yeah, so the question was, is it 1 block or 2 block closure? And we are allowed per our traffic control plan for 2 blocks at a time.
Small about the clean out, small about the sewer line. So in the right of way space between the curb and the house, I know where my sewer line and my water line are now. I know what you're gonna replace, more or less. How much space should I give you? And not plant or do anything with to make sure that stuff doesn't get destroyed?
I would try to stay, several feet back from I would say. Okay, could you repeat the question? I'm sorry, I keep having to be reminded to repeat the question.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I haven't done a public meeting in a number of years, and so I can get the cobwebs out. The question was, how far back from, I believe, the right of way, should we, or were we replacing the water and sewer lines? Side to side of yes, side to side of it, I would give them 10 feet.
I was
So,
gonna say,
yeah.
a 10-foot area will be,
Within the
Yes.
middle or 10 feet or like a 20-foot area?
no, so 10, 5 and 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I think, if you're 5 foot off of that line, I think you're okay. But
I have another question from the chat. As you progress down West Club, do you fan out north and south before moving on?
the question is, as we progress West Club, will we fan out north and south? As we progress, I believe we will only fan out enough to redo the water connections on the side streets. And I believe then we will switch and go, down 9th Street and down some of the other ones down, Oakland Avenue and Oval Drive. Those I think would be separate street closures and would probably take place after we finish West Club.
Yeah, that's the goal, is
Yeah.
get West Club done and 9th done
Yeah.
first, and then start working on some of the side streets.
Any more questions? In the back.
2-month period that you have projected, is that included with the redoing of the roads that you want, or is that after?
That's after this project strictly does water sewer replacements, and some little bit of storm drainage work. But that project is a follow-on to this. And I think the best people to talk to about that will be the public works folks. Like I said, are somewhat separate from the water and sewer folks. They'll be planning that project. And I don't have a timeline on when they're planning on starting that. But it will definitely be after we're finished. Well, yeah, the patches, well, it won't be like little patches. We are going to repatch, do larger patches to cover where we've done crossings. But there may be a few places where we do just do some patches across, and then that'll follow on with the street project.
So 2 other quick clarifications about that. One is, when in March do you intend to start? Do you have a date yet?
You want to repeat the question?
Hey, the question was, when in March are we going to start? And I believe,
March 3rd, you'll
March 3rd.
probably start seeing us mobilize out there. It'll probably be the 10th is that following Monday, I believe. That's when you'll see the road closures and stuff start to go up.
And then the last one was just, I didn't know if you could speak to like any concerns about environmental effects, like during the period where a particular block is being worked on in terms of like air quality or smell or any like hazards of being outside or anything like that. Should we be concerned about that? I don't know if the workers are typically masked and if we should be, or just what you recommend in terms of, people taking care of themselves during the time that this is all exposed.
yeah, so there's, the question is are there any environmental concerns related to being around the construction? I believe as far as odors, fumes, that sort of thing. And I would say
No,
No,
yeah, I mean, the
I
answer,
mean,
the easy answer to the question is no, there's no real danger. Our workers do not wear masks. They're in this stuff day in and day out. You may get a whiff of some sewer while we're replacing it, but it's not anything that's going to be harmful. All of our equipment is new. It's up to code with the DEF system and all that, so all of the exhaust is per the EPA regulations and all that. It's not old equipment that's just pouring out black smoke. So,
any other questions? I'll stick around. Hopefully maybe one. Okay, one more question in the back.
Earlier, I got the impression when people were asking about, cooling water near curb cuts that had been made, that you guys were going to produce a final road surface that was essentially perfect. Would drain nicely, it would take care of the puddles that were produced by these curb cuts. But now I get the impression that that's somebody else's problem, not yours. You're not gonna, the project you're talking about is not gonna involve that. That's a different project that we need to check into with different people.
Yes, I guess the question was about the curb cuts and how much this project will address those problems. Like I said, they were all the curb cuts and everything were checked and inventoried, and there are a few areas where the slopes do not meet what ADA requires, and so we are going to mill down some of those areas and make sure it all meets ADA requirements. But this project was not is strictly water and sewer, and then we were trying to catch some of these ADA issues as we went to address some of the curb cuts that are not ADA compliant.
And when you say ADA, you're talking about Americans with Disabilities.
Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, I'm
We're
using
talking about minimum standards for handicap
Correct.
accessibility.
Correct. Yeah, the ADA, I've been using that term, and that's the Americans with Disabilities Act, which defines what the curb cut slopes should be, the minimum and maximum.
ADA regulations say nothing about whether or not those curb cuts can be full of water.
Okay. Yeah, the question was about whether or not ADA says anything about storm drainage issues associated with those, and it does not that I'm aware of. I'm not the ADA expert, honestly, so. Yeah, any further questions?
So I did have a question about lead. Did I hear you say that that so far people are not finding lead service lines in Durham?
Correct. Yeah, the question was was the comment we made earlier about lead service lines, and that's the case. Today we have not found, I believe we've not found any lead service lines within the city.
And so my question about that is, are we talking about lead lines carrying city water on the city side of the meter? Are we talking about lead lines in people's houses?
Both, I believe. Not exactly. Like I said, the project won't address anything on the private side.
Let me
I believe. Yeah.
So the lead and copper rule initiative is simply about the service line. From the main to the meter into the home. It does not address internal home plumbing.
Right.
So when I say we haven't found any lead, that's on the customer side or on the city side of the meter. It does not include any part of the home's internal plumbing. That's up to the homeowner. This regulation does not include us having to inspect that or do anything like that. That's up to the homeowner. But we have not found any lead service lines, city side or private side so far.
How much have you looked?
Question is, how much have we looked? So, if I could, we've got 55,000 lines that we've identified. We have about 52,000 to go.
Okay.
And that could, when I say 52,000, that could be the city side, just from the main to the meter, or it could be the private side from the meter into the home. It could include, we count each of those as separate pieces.
So it would look like 5%.
We what?
3,000.
Yeah, you done.
How would you look at it?
Well, we've got about 55,000 lines identified
Right.
as non-lead.
Not identified as they exist, just. as-
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
So
We know where all the lines are. I'm sorry, I didn't. So, yes. So we have, I think it's 109,800 and some total service lines.
Okay.
And we've identified roughly 55,000 of those as non-lead.
Okay.
The rest have been classified as unknown. There are some, the galvanized steel is one that's kind of a subset where we're gonna do replacements on. We found about 73 of those so far.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions? No, we'll, I think we'll close up the meeting and we'll be around for a little bit. And gather in front of the maps if I can answer any lingering questions.
John, well, thank you. Joe, thank you for setting this
Yeah.
up and all the other guys that
Thanks.
participated.
Oh, yeah, thanks. And thanks everybody. Yes, thanks everybody for coming and for the,
Coming, guys.
yeah, I'd like to reiterate that. Thanks for coming and for the interest in the project. I really appreciate that. Dewberry has spent quite a number of years working on the design of this. And we're glad to see it come to fruition.
what I do, so when it's all done. And I reach for my tab. Will I notice any change in performance?
You know,
I should.
you should not notice any difference on the pressure.
But still,
I think
it should be
that-
done, right?
Yes, because,
Right.
yeah,
Because we're
the issue
looking at
with,
something
yes, yes.
Bad.
Yeah, the issue is really, as the lines get older, they do, obviously break more often and you lose water while the break's being repaired.
Yesterday, the day before. no,
yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so this is gonna alleviate line breaks in the long run. The types of materials I think we're using will last
Good answer.
good, yeah, well, the types of materials we're using should last 100 years. It's general life expectancy on
Oh, I have
those
to go through
pipes.
this again?
Yeah.
You may not. I don't think I don't know that yeah, we're gonna be replacing I'm not sure what types of materials are out there that we're replacing, but the ductile iron lines that we've been putting in, they've only been going in for I don't know how many years ductile iron's been. Yeah, a while, but to my knowledge, they could last 500 years. We can hope. So,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
If you didn't give us your email address, I think you can all sign up for project notification, so if you sign in or you didn't sign in, make sure to sign in, we'll add it to that. There's a secret.
Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you.
Show that cross section.
Sure. Let me stop the Zoom meeting here real quick and then